Small businesses struggle to enter the market due to industry monopolies and crowded markets. Coming up with a business idea that already exists has its own challenges on how differently one is going to implement it. And some business people come from a background of where they were employed and started their own businesses because of their experience and training. But how can that business have access to the markets in a highly competitive environment? To tell us more is Kelvin Jacobs, who is Managing Director of KSM Chemical Solutions. Kelvin, welcome to our program.
Good afternoon.
All right, give us a little background about your experience and how you got into an industry where you were a former employee, and with your skills, qualifications and experience, you were able to leave the work environment to start your own business.
Good afternoon, Colin. I've basically taken the leap of faith about 5 years ago when the company that I've worked for went through a retrenchment process, and I saw that as an opportunity basically, and taken that leap of faith to do what I'm passionate about, and that is always to manufacture and formulate different products. And specifically in this area, I've worked in the petrochemical area for about 15 years, so I'm qualified as a scientist actually, and my passion just to be my own business or be an entrepreneur just helped me tremendously. So I decided to start basically in the garage, if I can put it that way, with two specific products that we looked at in the manufacturing. The one was the biodiesel manufacturing, and the second being the clean products that we manufacture basically from natural components, which is your cleaning products. So it's an eco-friendly material that we use basically.
For anybody to get in that kind of business, do you need to be capitalized?
Look, I was a bit in a fortunate position, so I used a bit of my own capital, which is capital intensive, specifically the biodiesel production. But we're now at the stage where we've grown tremendously over the last 5 years. We've also become more sustainable with regards to the feedstock that we're getting from one specific restaurant in South Africa. So it took us a year to negotiate that, but we finally managed to get it. So that kind of sustains the business, because the competition is very tough when it comes to your feedstock supply, which is your used cooking oil, and we convert that to a renewable fuel, which is biodiesel, and it's a much cheaper product to use.
Even institution does not need oil that it's used. Do you have to pay for it?
15, 20 years ago, oil was dumped down the drains by many restaurants and people from the household. If you've got your own oil at home, you would dump it down the drain, but it's not environmentally friendly. It can damage your downstream water supply, etc. So the focus would be to add value to that specific waste. But the competition that we are facing in South Africa these days, it's the European market, because over 70% of our oil goes to Europe. And they do biodiesel on a massive scale, which is probably about 3 or 4 times bigger than what we can do in South Africa.
So for you to produce biodiesel and cleaning products, how have you identified a gap where you are able to enter and do business differently?
Look, when it comes to the fuel price, we've all seen over the last couple of years, there's a tremendous, it seems like it's exponential, and then it just gradually decreases and goes up again with regards to the pricing. So I needed something that would be feasible for me with regards to the amount of fuel that we use for our business, even our own trucks. So I've capitalized on that, where I know that I can supply the product at a much cheaper rate than any of my competitors. Also because we've got the specific contract that we kind of capitalize on, which makes it easier for us to just sell your product always at a much cheaper price than your competitors. So that's on the one point for the biodiesel. On the eco-friendly kind of product side, we've basically differentiated our product. So we focus on the latest technology with regards to surfactants, which is your components in the cleaning products, that performs much better than any of the market leaders in South Africa.
So for you not to plateau in the business environment where you just have a cycle of contracts that are outsourced to you to supply, you wouldn't have a marginally increasing curve or that's on the upward trajectory. How do you plan to scale your business so that you can be one of the leading industry players?
Look, it's all we know that the fuel business, it's a volume-based system. So in other words, if you can supply more, your margins are much bigger. And on the cleaning product side, we need to get your product out in the market, expose yourself, do better marketing so that others can hear about your business and your products that you have. We've just been a bit fortunate that with the marketing that we've done, we've gained a couple of contracts that sustains the business easily at this stage. But it was a tremendous walk that we've taken over the last 5 years. It wasn't easy at all.
Yeah. So Kelvin, one gets an understanding that not many people are into math and science like you, and on the visuals, we have shown young people who are introduced to biochemistry at a very young age. And surely with that experience, it can take them a long way when they are adults to be innovative, especially with the kind of the disruptive environment that we see now with the fourth industrial revolution and mechanization, artificial intelligence and so forth. How does then one do things differently from this age going forward?
Look, the competition is very tough there for any sector in South Africa with imported products, etc. So the science field is a very, it's a field that you can actually capitalize on with regards to new opportunities for South Africa. So even what we've projected for the next couple of years, it lends itself to more job opportunities for people out there. So for the youngsters that's growing up, if you equip yourself with just better knowledge, there's a lot of knowledge on the internet.
Let's talk about knowledge. I see the graphic here that talks about biodiesel manufacturing products. I see vegetable oil, animal fat waste, and so forth. You know, Kelvin, I'll tell you, one has a problem with the kind of education system that we have. We study humanities, we study Pule Mudise, Claudia, and Dala, and Umpit Ruoksei Pape as poems at school. But really, for children at primary, middle, and high school to learn these kinds of subjects, how important is it for your industry so that it can have a curriculum that is aligned with the kind of industries, mainstream economy, and also the factors of production? Yeah,
look, I believe our education system has to become more applied with regards to science and maths and not make it too theoretical for students. If you show them the final product and how to get there, and this is an easy way to do it as well, children become much more interested in the specific field, specifically the field that I'm in. If you tell someone that you can drive your vehicle on oil that you use to bake chips with, that's something that's very intriguing. So the science itself might be complicated, but there's easier ways of doing things, and I believe that the youth of today need to equip themselves. If they don't have that knowledge, there's always someone or information out there that will enable them to get to this, where you apply your knowledge to get to a final product. Because manufacturing in South Africa is one avenue that we can explore with regards to job creation.
Yeah, but because for somebody who comes and look for a job at your company, they must have gone through rudimentary and elementary teaching of these kinds of subjects.
Look, it's important, but you can always equip people. You don't have to have all the knowledge. Someone else, just tag along with that particular person. They might have the knowledge, but you can learn the basic hands-on approach how to implement this and make it use. But for youngsters out there, especially this field, it can be very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. There's specific safety measures that has to be put in place before you start to do something like this yourself.
Well, Kelvin, congratulations on your initiative, and you're surely bearing fruit after 5 years. And we wish you all of the best. Thank you very much for coming.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right. Kelvin Jacobs is Managing Director of KSM Chemical Solutions, telling us about the ins and outs of the manufacturing sector in as far as biodiesel is concerned, as well as cleaning products.